My pathway to at a young age. I was lucky to grow up in a home where reading was valued, and my mother was fully participating in the reading process. Every night, she would read to me and my sister. And of course, we picked the books and the location, my bed or her bed, and we'd cuddle in tight and wait for the story to start. I never actually took part in the reading, being too young, but I always enjoyed listening to my sister and my mom. Of course, the beginning of my love for books started with Dr. Seuss. And continued on with books like Fox Eyes and Baby Blue Cat and the Dirty Dog Brothers. When I got into first grade, I started struggling. I wasn't catching on with the other students as fast as what my teacher expected. I never volunteered in class to read aloud, and I always sat in the back during reading time. My teachers began getting worried that I may have a disability that was keeping me from progressing with the rest of my classmates. The reason I never rose my hand in class was because I just wasn't confident in my reading abilities. I felt trapped in my own thoughts that I couldn't read like everybody else. And it probably didn't help this treatment I was getting from my teachers. It made me feel different than my classmates. They tried extra hard to help me, but it it just made me feel different and pulled me back even further. Other parts of my education began to suffer, as well as my social relationships. I felt different, and not in a good, unique way. I felt different in a bad way. Like I was missing out on something everybody else knew. Some secret had somehow missed. Everybody else knew what the secret was. I was trapped, lonely, and wasn't exactly sure what I was missing out on. Until the summer before second grade. Summer before second grade. I was enrolled in a special reading program at my school with a teacher named Mrs. Fleschner. The program offered me an opportunity to work one-on-one with Mrs. Fleschner and to help me with my reading so that I could be ready for second grade, ready and caught up with my peers. I absolutely loved that summer. I loved Mrs. Fleschner. I loved the one-on-one time I received with her. And the best part, and probably the not as interesting part, is the fact that I was so excited because all of the books I received that we read during this program, I got to keep. I would go home every week after mastering these books with Mrs. Fleschner. And instead of my mom reading to me, I really enjoyed being able to read to her. And I think that was really important, facilitating my literacy capabilities, was just being able to practice what I had learned and to just show somebody else what I could do. So that summer really opened up everything for me. I completely took a 180 in school, became a completely new student, active with friends, participating in class. I was even participating out of class, began taking part in library programs, summer reading programs, marking books off many lists, and I just couldn't get enough at that point. They became magical for me. And I enjoyed being able to read the same books that my family was enjoying. That's something that we definitely share today, is the love of books. But what really kind of got me started reading books outside of school and taking an interest in choosing my own books was when I entered 6th grade. Of course, many people my age are big fans of Harry Potter, and I am no exception to that rule. Harry Potter is the first book series I read fully. I read each and every book, and I waited at those midnight releases for the next book to come out. And again, it was also a chance for me to share books with my family. My sister and I were reading the Harry Potter series together, so it was nice to be able to go with her to the premieres and stay up all night reading each book and then talking about it as soon as we finished, because it only took us a couple days. We could argue our favorite parts and discuss each character, choose our favorite characters, and choose our favorite books. And I think especially with the Harry Potter series, it was a children's book, but it was a book in which you could learn a lot about yourself through it by identifying with one of the characters. Your favorite character usually has a lot to do with you. And the struggles they go through are also struggles that each of us go through. And you can learn a lot by how they dealt with it and how others helped them along the way. Even today, I would say that Harry Potter, out of all the series I've ever read, is the most influential book series of my life, of my childhood. But other series like The Hunger Games, I think The Hunger Games is really important from a political standpoint, a social standpoint, just like 1989 or Lord of Flies. Books like that, while they are fiction, definitely make you question the status quo of your own society. Harry Potter is a very moral book. There's a lot of right and wrong to deal with, and guiding through the books as a young kid also helps you guide through your own ideas of what is right and what is wrong and how those things should be dealt with. So Harry Potter opened up an immense just pathway of options. And today in my own life, I feel like there are not enough books. Well, there's not enough time in my lifetime for me to read every book that I want to read. I feel like the list I have keeps growing and growing and growing. And then I have the times where I want to read books that I've already read and they feel completely new to me. Like I've never read them before, and I'm picking up on new things that I missed the first time around. And even books I've read before, they still aren't old to me. They are new and refreshing and something that I can't ever forget and won't ever forget and never want to forget. I definitely feel that my pathway to literacy has had a lot to do with my family. Even today, we converse with each other about the books we're reading, and we share books we think each person should read, and we spend time reading the same series and discussing it. I think being able to definitely discuss the books we're reading has helped, joining book clubs and participating in online discussions, and just being able to share our thoughts, and being able to share your thoughts about what you're reading also, just adds to your understanding of the book. Being able to just verbalize what you've read just almost brings up new questions. When I'm talking to somebody about a book, they may say something that I didn't realize and completely agree with, and at the same time, I may say something that I wasn't sure I knew of before, but it came out of my mouth, and then I have time to think about it and discuss it with somebody to really figure out why I felt that way, what made me feel that way. And of course, being able to discuss it with somebody, our minds are completely full of experiences. We can't think without being able to relate it to something we've already experienced. And so when you're reading books and discussing them with somebody, there's always that chance for you to make real world connections and relate it back to your own life and what's going on around the world. And I think that's probably the most important aspect of literacy, being able to even just take a fictional work of literature and think critically of its message and of its characters and its plot, and being able to relate that to what's going on in real life and real people. And that's a gift that's given to us through reading, and one that we definitely need to continue to work on. You should always be reading, and always be reading different things. Currently, I love reading autobiographies. I love reading autobiographies and biographies about musicians. I'm in a creative field, being an art teacher, and I like to read about other creative people. That's another thing that, literacy gives us, is the opportunity to find things that interest us, find like minds to learn about, that can open up our eyes to new opportunities and facilitate further growth within our own content areas and work. So this specific image I'm drawing now is my mental library. It's deep, it's vast, and it's incomplete. I will continue always to be adding books to it, taking books out of it to share with others, and it'll just go on and on and on. In my own classroom, I think literacy is just important for multiple reasons, actually. Being able to share, like I said, the creativity of others can help facilitate the creativity of the individual. I can learn from other creative minds by reading about them, by experiencing what they've experienced through their own words. I want to be able to give plenty of opportunities for students to choose what they read about, and how they relate to it. Because I think the biggest thing when it comes to literacy, or facilitating it, using it, is choice. It's hard to get students interested in something that they had no say in, that they didn't get to choose. And I know I would be upset if I was just told to read anything that wasn't even remotely close to my personal interests. And I think in the arts, students definitely have the opportunity to explore a little more and be able to choose what they are interested in and what works for them, to help their minds grow, help their craft grow, their knowledge of who they are, what they're interested in.